I want to talk about the role of the family of a person who is abusing drugs of recreation, alcohol, marijuana, all those drugs that I mention from time to time, or a person who is outrightly addicted to these drugs. I would like to talk about the role of their family, parents, siblings, close kith and kin, the role of the family in helping this person to recover from their addiction, from their abuse. I would like to do this in a two-part series. The first part talking about how the family reacts when one of their own starts abusing drugs of recreation and maybe getting addicted. And in the second part, the role of the family when this person has to go into addiction treatment, which is called addiction rehabilitation. So today I will talk about the first part, the family's reaction, and in the next video I'll talk about what the family's role is when the person now has to be in rehab. So how does the family react to a person, one of their own, who is sinking into abusing of drugs of recreation or addiction to the same? Most of the times, the families are in total shock, loss, disbelief, not because they did not know that this person is taking some alcohol or using some marijuana or chewing some mirror, because as we know, these are drugs of recreation, and so they are not outrightly illegal or antisocial. They have been with us in our cultures from time immemorial. And so the very fact that someone is taking a little alcohol for recreation is not a problem. So the family expects it to remain at that stage of being a recreational drug. And this means that this person can take this substance and still go back to function normally. They take it as a way of relaxation. And after they have relaxed a bit, maybe after a day of work in the fields or in the office, then they take it. The next day they wake up and they continue with their responsibilities as members of the family. So if this is a person who is a family person, a family man, a family woman, then their responsibilities of taking care of their children, their family, continue as usual. This person is expected to continue working in the office, in the fields. The person who is in school or in college is supposed to continue attending school, college. Life should go on well. So the family then expects it to be that way. And if it crosses to a point where the usage is too much, it's become abusive, and it's turning into addictions, which means then that this person who is affected is not able to function well. They are falling behind on their responsibilities, and people around them are starting to complain. Then this is the time the family starts to get the shock, the disbelief that I talked about. And when this happens, families react in two major ways. The first, not necessarily in this order, but the first I will mention is that some families recognize that there has developed a problem. They confront the problem. And we'll discuss that later, how they confront. The other way some families react is they deny that there's a problem. They're shocked something is happening, but they can't believe it, so they deny it, they wish it away, they ignore it, and they even discourage people from talking about it. If neighbors or other family members who are not core family members talk about it, they shut them up, they hush it up, they throw a diversion. And it is this second reaction which causes most problems, and it's what I would like to talk about most in today's video. But before I delve into this, as usual, I would like to know if you have subscribed to Dr. BMS channel, and if you haven't subscribed to Dr. BMS channel, please click that subscribe button below and join our community where we talk about matters health that affect our body, our mind, and our souls. So let's delve into it now. So a family has one of their members who is abusing drugs of recreation, sinking into addiction to the same, and falling behind in their responsibilities. And this family chooses to recognize there is a problem and confront it. That decision of that family is the best decision and the decision that Dr. BMS always recommends. You diagnose there is a problem because you see that the drinking, the using of these recreational drugs is surpassing what should be normal. It's taking up time that is allocated for other activities, and the other activities are falling behind. This person does not seem to be able to control themselves, and when you ask them, they lie about it or they become defensive, and so you know there is a problem. Because also at work, there are complaints from the employer, the family, your wife, your husband is complaining, and so the other family members know there is a problem. That way they're able to diagnose, and the action they take, they will come together as a family, meet, discuss, everyone contributes what they have seen, and they come up with a diagnosis that yes, one of our own has a problem and we need to help. So sometimes some family will try to talk this person out of this behavior with varying degrees of success, or sometimes they will reach out to people who can help. Some will reach out to spiritual counselors or spiritual leaders, a priest, an imam, to pray for this person, to counsel this person. They will look for a respectable member of the society or the family to come and talk to this person, and it may help. Sometimes it doesn't, and this family that has decided to take action will not stop there. They may move to another level where they get professional help from a counselor, or lastly, they may end up in a rehabilitation center like where Dr. BMS works. Now, this reaction of this family, as I said, is what Dr. BMS recommends, and it's the way to go. And so, if your family that is doing that, has done that, or will do that when someone has a problem of abusing or addiction to drugs, Dr. BMS says, kudos, that's the way to go, that's the way to get a solution. However, there are other families that choose the other way. They deny, they scapegoat, they push it under the carpet, they ignore it, they stifle even discussion. They don't want someone to mention that one of their own has got a problem. And because they're doing this, they go into great lengths to hide that problem. And this second reaction of a family with someone in addiction or abuse of drugs is a problematic reaction, and we'd like to discuss about this a bit more in this video today. So why do some families choose to ignore, to deny that there's a problem? It's because most of the time they feel shame. They feel shame because one of their own has gone into a behavior that is not socially acceptable. So what is shame? We don't know shame, I guess, but just to help those who may not know, shame is that feeling. It's an emotion that is painful. You have a feeling, a painful feeling of a shortcoming around you, something that is of disrepute, something that is causing some disgrace, or something that is causing you to be looked down upon or to lose your social standing. So these families usually feel that one of their own has shamed them and they have to do something about this shame. But the way of dealing with it is to hide it, to cover it, and in the process, the problem gets to be perpetuated. So why do the families feel this shame? As I said, their standing in their community goes down. People talk behind their backs. People ridicule them. And they feel the respect they have in the community has gone down because of the behavior of one of their own. They're drinking out there, getting into fights, conning people of money. They have dropped out of school or lost their jobs. They have lost their family. And everyone notices that your wife has left you. This person has lost a job, is jobless. The children are not in school. They are walking around in tatters, and now the wealth they had has been lost because of drinking. So their social standing has gone down, and it makes them feel shame. This is because addiction in its nature causes a stagnation and a regression of the social and economic standing of the person engaged in it. Addiction, abuse of drugs and addiction makes you poor materially, and poor in health, and poor in social relationship. It brings poverty all around, and this causes shame to people around you, especially the family. The family feels shame also because there is this feeling that when one of your family members is in a problem, you share the problem. If they are successful, you share in the success because you are family. We say, I am because we are. And so what happens, one family member affects the other. And so if this family member is not doing well, that shame then is shared. The public ridicule then brings up or brings together all these things that I've talked about, and a stigma develops around this family. So the family, knowing that there is a stigma around them, there's ridicule, people look at them with disdain because of the behavior of one of their own, they try to hide, they try to cover up, they try to pretend that everything is okay. And in the process, a new phenomena develops. This is how it develops. That a person is abusing drugs, getting into addiction. You as family members have not recognized this and accepted it. You have denied it. You are trying to cover it up. So what then happens is that you spend more of your energy trying to cover up, to show that things are okay, to compensate for what's not working, than to solve the problem. In the process, the person who is abusing drugs is left to continue because the attention of the family is focused on protecting the image of the family in the society. And so the problem primarily continues to grow. The person who is abusing drugs and is in addiction continues to worsen. And then a second problem develops where the family, in their quest to cover up, to show that everything is okay, not to wash their dirty linen in public, starts to behave in a way that makes this person's addiction get worse. And this is what we call enabling and codependency in addiction or in drug abuse. We've made videos about enabling and codependency, and just to refresh the memory of those who may have forgotten, enabling generally is when you do things that make this person who is behaving badly get away with it. If they make some mistakes, then you correct the mistakes, so they are not held accountable. That is enabling. Codependency is a situation where you, in a way, alter your life or a part of it, some of the things you do are now primarily determined by the behavior of that person in addiction. And so, if you are to wake up in the morning, how you will end your day will to some extent be determined by that person who is in addiction. If at some stage during the day, this person who is in addiction is going to sneak out of the home and go to his drinking den and start drinking, then we can predict that by around 4 p.m. or 6 p.m., you will have stopped everything you are doing to start looking for this person so that he does not sleep in the ditch. So your schedules have started being determined by the behavior of that other person, and we say you are codependent on the behavior of that other person. So this is a consequence of a family not accepting that there is a problem and trying to cover up, which then, as I said, the net effect that you ignore the problem, allow it to grow, and it gets worse. By the time you act, it becomes a bit more difficult, and in more of the scenarios that we've seen, these families are unable to act until an external force comes to push them into action. These external forces could be things like the law or people outside the family coming in and doing things that force this family to confront the problem that one of their own has a problem of addiction to drugs of recreation and needs to be helped. Without that, most of these families will continue in this cycle of codependency and enabling until the very end, which usually is not a good end for the person in addiction. So, to conclude my message today, family has got a very important role in the treatment of a person who is abusing drugs of recreation or is outrightly addicted. But the family has to make the right decision, namely that they have to recognize that the problem has developed and act upon it. If, however, this family decides to do otherwise, which is they ignore the problem or deny that there is a problem, or they think that they can hide this problem so that they are not shamed in public, their public standing is not affected, and the family is seen as that good family, then they will allow this problem to grow bigger, and at the same time, they will get sucked into the problem themselves by developing enabling behavior and codependencies around this person who is in addiction, and the end result is not good. Thank you.